Eat That Frog, 21 Great Ways to Stop Procrastinating and Get More Done in Less Time, by Brian Tracy. Introduction. Mark Twain once said that if the first thing you do each morning is to eat a live frog, you can go through the day with the satisfaction of knowing that that is probably the worst thing that is going to happen to you all day long. Now, imagine that for a moment. A live frog. Not the most appetizing breakfast, is it? But what if I told you that this one, slightly grotesque idea, holds the key to unlocking a level of productivity and success you might have only dreamed of? What if that frog wasn't a real amphibian, but a metaphor for your most important, most challenging task of the day? The one you're most likely to put off, to procrastinate on, but also the one that could have the greatest positive impact on your life. This is the beautifully simple, yet profoundly powerful, idea at the heart of Eat That Frog, a book by Brian Tracy that has sold millions of copies and been translated into dozens of languages. It's a global phenomenon for a reason. It doesn't offer complicated theories or abstract philosophies. It offers a set of practical, proven, and fast-acting principles for getting more of the important things done. The man behind this idea, Brian Tracy, isn't someone who was born with a silver spoon. He didn't graduate from an Ivy League school or inherit a fortune. His story began with him working laboring jobs, washing dishes, digging wells, stacking lumber. He was a young man with few advantages, but he had a curious mind. He started looking at the successful people around him and asking a simple question: what are you doing differently? He listened, he learned, and he applied what they told him. And step by step, he transformed his life, eventually becoming the chief operating officer of a $265 million company and a world-renowned authority on personal achievement. So, what you're about to hear isn't just theory from a book. It's a lifetime of wisdom, distilled into 21 principles, learned in the trenches of real life. By the end of our time together, I promise you this: you will have a clear, actionable roadmap to stop procrastinating, take control of your time, and start achieving the goals that truly matter to you. You'll learn how to identify your most important frog each day, and, more importantly, how to find the courage and discipline to eat it. Book summary. Let's start at the very beginning. The foundation of all great achievement, the first step before you can even think about which frog to eat, is clarity. Think about it. Why do we procrastinate? Often, it's not because we're lazy. It's because we're confused. We're facing a fog of tasks, responsibilities, and desires, and we don't know where to start. We have a vague idea that we want to be successful or get in shape, but what does that actually mean? It's like trying to hit a target in the dark. Brian Tracy gives us a simple, powerful tool to cut through this fog. Think on paper. He says that only about 3% of adults have clear, written goals. And these people accomplish 5 to 10 times as much as everyone else. When you write a goal down, you're not just making a wish. You're crystallizing it. You're giving it form. You're creating a map for your subconscious mind to follow. He lays out a 7-step formula for this. It's so simple, you might be tempted to dismiss it. Don't. Its power lies in its practice. First, decide exactly what you want. Be specific. Not "I want to make more money, but I will earn X number of dollars by this date." Second, write it down. This act alone separates you from the vast majority of people. Third, set a deadline. A goal without a deadline is just a dream. It has no urgency. Fourth, make a list of everything you need to do to achieve it. Every single step. Don't censor yourself, just get it all out. Fifth, organize that list into a plan. What comes first? What comes second? What depends on something else? This turns a daunting mountain into a series of manageable hills. Sixth, and this is crucial, take action on your plan immediately. Do something. Anything. An average plan vigorously executed is far better than a brilliant plan on which nothing is done. And finally, seventh, resolve to do something every single day that moves you toward your major goal. Even if it's just reading 10 pages of a book or making one phone call. This builds momentum. This process of planning is not a waste of time. In fact, it's one of the greatest time savers ever discovered. Tracy introduces what he calls the 10-90 rule. It states that the first 10% of time you spend planning your work before you begin will save you as much as 90% of the time in getting the job done. Every minute spent in planning saves 10 minutes in execution. That's a 1,000% return on your energy. So, you start by planning your goals. Then, you bring it down to the daily level. You plan every day in advance, preferably the night before. You create a list of everything you have to do the next day. As you sleep, your subconscious mind goes to work on that list, often waking you up with insights on how to get your tasks done better and faster. Now you have a list. But a list isn't enough. Not all tasks are created equal. Some are giant, ugly frogs. Others are tiny tadpoles. And this is where most people get tripped up. They spend their days chasing tadpoles because it feels easy and busy, while the big frogs sit there, getting bigger and uglier. This brings us to the second core idea, ruthless prioritization. Have you ever heard of the Pareto principle, or the 80-20 rule? It was discovered by an Italian economist named Vilfredo Pareto back in 1895. He noticed that 20% of the people in his society owned 80% of the land. He soon realized this principle applied to almost everything. In our lives, it means that 20% of your activities will account for 80% of your results. Think about your list of 10 tasks for the day. According to this rule, 2 of those items will be worth more than the other 8 items combined. These 2 items are your most important frogs. The tragedy is that most people procrastinate on that vital 20%. Why? Because those tasks are often the hardest, the most complex, the ones with the biggest consequences. So we busy ourselves with the trivial many, the 80% of tasks that contribute very little, because it gives us a false sense of accomplishment. We're active, but we're not effective. So how do you identify that critical 20%? How do you know which frog to eat first? One way is to consider the consequences. Before you start any task, ask yourself, what are the potential consequences of doing or not doing this? Important tasks have significant potential consequences, either positive or negative. Unimportant tasks have few or no consequences. Your biggest frog is the task that, if you do it well and on time, will have the greatest positive impact on your life and your work. Conversely, it might be the task that will have the most serious negative consequences if you don't do it. This requires what researchers call a long-time perspective. Successful people think about the future. They think 5, 10, 20 years out. They understand that sacrifices in the short term, like tackling a difficult task now, lead to far greater rewards in the long term. Unsuccessful people think about short-term pleasure and immediate gratification. They choose the easy tadpole over the hard frog every time. To make this even more practical, Brian Tracy developed a brilliant system he calls the ABCE method. It's a way to apply this thinking to your daily list. You go through your list and place a letter next to each item before you begin work. An A item is something that is very important. You must do it. It has serious positive or negative consequences. These are your frogs. If you have more than one A task, you rank them A1, A2, A3. Your A1 is your biggest, ugliest frog of all. A B item is a task you should do. But it has only mild consequences. These are your tadpoles. Returning a non-urgent phone call, for example. The rule is simple and absolute. Never do a B task when an A task is left undone. Don't get distracted by a tadpole when a frog is waiting to be eaten. A C item is something that would be nice to do but has no consequences at all. Phoning a friend, having coffee with a coworker. These have no real impact on your work life. A D item is for delegate. The rule is to delegate anything you can to free up more time for the A tasks that only you can do. And finally, an E item is for eliminate. These are tasks you can stop doing altogether with no real downside. Maybe it's a report nobody reads anymore, or a meeting you don't need to attend. The key to this whole system is to discipline yourself to start immediately on your A1 task and stay at it until it's 100% complete. This single habit, practiced daily, will transform your productivity. This leads to a powerful related idea: creative procrastination. You might think procrastination is always bad. But the truth is, you can't do everything. You have to procrastinate on something. High performers are not people who don't procrastinate. They are people who have chosen, very deliberately, what to procrastinate on. They procrastinate on the C, D, and E tasks. They put off the low-value activities, the tadpoles, so they have more time for the A tasks that really count. This means you have to learn to say no. It's one of the most powerful words in time management. Say no, politely but firmly, to anything that is not a high-value use of your time. Your dance card is full. To take on something new, you have to let go of something old. So, we have a clear plan, and we know our priorities. But that's still not enough. You can have the best plan in the world, but if you don't have the energy and the drive to execute it, it's just a piece of paper. This brings us to the third part of the puzzle: fueling your personal engine. Your personal performance is powered by your physical, mental, and emotional energies. When you're fully rested and feeling good, you can accomplish vastly more than when you're tired and burned out. This is why you must maximize your personal powers. First and foremost, this means getting enough sleep. Many of us are walking around in a mental fog because we work too much and sleep too little. Turning off the TV and going to bed an hour earlier can radically change your energy levels the next day. Take one full day off every week where you completely disconnect from work. Let your brain recharge. And take regular vacations. You are always most productive after a period of true rest. What you put into your body matters too. Feed yourself like a world-class athlete before a competition. Start the day with a high-protein, low-carb breakfast. Avoid sugar and heavy foods that make you feel sluggish in the afternoon. And exercise regularly. It doesn't have to be a marathon. Even a brisk 30-minute walk each day can dramatically boost your energy and mental clarity. But energy isn't just physical. It's also emotional. You have to learn how to motivate yourself into action. You have to become your own personal cheerleader. Most of your emotions are determined not by what happens to you, but by how you talk to yourself about what happens. Your inner dialogue is everything. To keep yourself motivated, you must resolve to be an optimist. Not in a naive, head-in-the-sand way, but in a practical, resilient way. Optimists have 4 key habits. First, they look for the good in every situation. Even when things go wrong, they find a silver lining. Second, they seek the valuable lesson in every setback. They believe difficulties come not to obstruct, but to instruct. Third, they focus on solutions, not problems. Instead of blaming or complaining, they ask, "What can we do now? What's the next step?" And fourth, they think and talk continually about their goals. They focus on where they're going, not where they've been. You can control this inner dialogue. When you feel doubt, you can consciously choose to say to yourself, "I can do it." When someone asks how you are, you can say, "I feel terrific," even if you're not quite there yet. Your words have the power to shape your reality. Part of this is about putting the right kind of pressure on yourself. Don't wait for a boss or a teacher to motivate you. Only about 2% of people can work entirely without supervision. We call them leaders. You have to form the habit of putting the pressure on yourself. Create imaginary deadlines. Imagine you have to leave town for a month and must get your most important work done before you go. What would you focus on? Whatever it is, do that now. This creates a sense of urgency, an inner drive to get on with the job quickly. When you work with this kind of focused intensity, you can enter a state that psychologists call flow. It's that magical state where you're so absorbed in your work that time seems to disappear. You feel clear, creative, and powerful. Everything just clicks. Developing a sense of urgency is a trigger for this high-performance state. So now, we have clarity, we have priorities, and we have the energy and mindset to get started. The final piece is about the practical mechanics of execution. How do you actually tackle that big, ugly frog without getting overwhelmed? The first technique is to prepare thoroughly before you begin. One of the best ways to overcome the resistance to starting is to have everything you need right at hand. Clear your desk so that only the one task is in front of you. Gather all the information, reports, tools, and materials you'll require. When you're fully prepared, you're like a cocked gun. All it takes is one small mental push to get started. Once you're ready, you have to deal with the sheer size of the task. A big frog can be intimidating. So, you don't try to eat it all at once. You slice and dice the task. Brian Tracy offers two wonderful metaphors for this. The first is the salami slice method. You lay out the entire task in detail, and then you resolve to do just one slice of the job for now. You just eat one slice of the salami. Psychologically, it's much easier to start a 5-minute piece of a project than to start the entire 10-hour project. And often, once you've done one slice, you feel like doing one more. And then one more. The second is the Swiss cheese method. You resolve to punch a hole in the task. You just work on it for a short, fixed period of time, maybe just 10 or 15 minutes. After that, you're free to stop. You just take one bite of your frog. Like the salami slice, this short burst of work builds momentum. It breaks the inertia. You get energized, and you often find yourself wanting to keep going. This approach is perfectly captured in another one of Tracy's stories. He tells of crossing the vast Sahara Desert. For a 500-mile stretch, there was nothing, no water, no food, no landmarks. It was just a flat, sandy horizon. To mark the path, the French had placed black oil barrels every 5 kilometers. In the heat and haze, you could only ever see 2 barrels, the one you just passed, and the next one on the horizon. The key to crossing the entire desert was to forget about the 500 miles and just focus on getting to the next oil barrel. So you take it one oil barrel at a time. You can accomplish the biggest task of your life if you just break it down and focus on the very next step. As you're working on these steps, it's vital that you single-handle every task. This means that once you start on your A1 task, you work on it without diversion or distraction until it is 100% complete. Don't check your email. Don't answer the phone. Don't start another project. Every time you start and stop a task, you lose momentum. It can increase the time needed to complete it by as much as 500% because you have to constantly refamiliarize yourself with where you were. To do this, you have to learn how to create large chunks of time. Schedule appointments with yourself in your calendar, 30, 60, or 90-minute blocks where you turn off all distractions and work with intense focus. This is especially important for creative or complex work that requires deep thought. Finally, all of this is part of a bigger, lifelong journey. You're not just trying to be productive today, you're trying to build a life of effectiveness and achievement. This requires a commitment to continuous improvement. You must constantly upgrade your key skills. A major reason we procrastinate is a feeling of inadequacy. If we don't feel confident we can do a job well, we'll avoid it. So, identify the most important skills in your work, your key result areas, and make a plan to get better at them every single day. Read for an hour in your field. Take courses and seminars. Listen to educational audio programs. Continuous learning is the minimum requirement for success in any field. At the same time, leverage your special talents. You are unique. There are certain things you can do, or learn to do, that can make you extraordinarily valuable. What are you good at? What do you enjoy doing most? What has been most responsible for your success in the past? Focus on developing and applying those unique strengths. That's where you'll make your greatest contribution. And as you work, always be on the lookout for what's holding you back. You need to identify your key constraints. In any process, there is always one bottleneck or limiting factor that sets the speed of your progress. It could be a lack of a particular skill, a critical piece of information, or a person whose help you need. Your job is to find that constraint and focus your energy on alleviating it. Often, removing a single bottleneck can unlock a flood of progress. So there you have it. It starts with clarity, knowing exactly what you want and planning your path. It continues with ruthless prioritization, focusing on the vital few tasks that deliver the most value. It's powered by personal energy, managing your physical and mental well-being so you can perform at your best. And it's achieved through disciplined execution, breaking down large tasks and working on them with single-minded focus until they are complete. It's not complicated. But it's not easy either. It requires a decision. A decision to take control. A decision to stop letting the day control you, and to start controlling your day. It all comes back to that simple, daily choice. Look at your list. Find the biggest, ugliest frog. And eat it. Commentary. As we wrap up, I want to take a step back and reflect on why this simple little book has had such a massive impact on so many people. In a world that is constantly getting more complex, filled with productivity apps, complex systems, and endless hacks, the message of "Eat That Frog" feels more radical and relevant than ever. Its power lies in its profound simplicity. Brian Tracy doesn't try to reinvent the wheel. He takes timeless, proven principles of success and distills them into a framework that anyone, at any stage of life, can understand and apply immediately. The core message is a rejection of the modern myth of multitasking and the glorification of being busy. He reminds us that true effectiveness isn't about doing more things. It's about doing more of the right things and getting them finished. The frog is such a brilliant metaphor because it's visceral. We can all relate to that feeling of dread when we look at a task that is big, important, and difficult. We know we should do it, but every fiber of our being wants to turn to something easier, something more comfortable. That feeling is the heart of procrastination. Tracy teaches us that the way to build self-discipline, self-esteem, and momentum is not to run from that feeling, but to lean directly into it. The act of doing the hardest thing first builds a kind of spiritual muscle. It sends a message to yourself that you are in charge, that you don't just follow your fleeting impulses, but that you direct your energy with intention. This is more than just a time management strategy, it's a character-building philosophy. When you consistently eat your frog every morning, you're not just getting a task done. You're building a reputation with yourself. You're becoming the kind of person who honors their commitments, who faces challenges head-on, and who executes on what truly matters. And that internal reputation is the foundation of all external success. So, how can you start applying this today, right now? Here are 3 simple actions you can take. 1. Set the table for tomorrow, tonight. Before you go to bed tonight, take out a clean sheet of paper. Write down the 6 most important things you need to accomplish tomorrow. Just 6. This simple act will bring immense clarity and allow your subconscious to get to work while you sleep. 2. Identify and eat your frog. When you wake up tomorrow, look at that list of 6 things. Ask yourself, if I could only do one thing on this list today, which one would have the greatest positive impact on my life? Circle it. That is your frog. And then, before you check your email, before you look at social media, before you do anything else, do that one thing. Start it and stay with it until it is 100% complete. 3. Practice one num. Sometime this week, you'll be asked to do something that you know is a low-value activity, a tadpole. It might be a meeting you don't need to be in, a small favor that distracts from your goals, or just an invitation to waste time. Practice saying no, politely but firmly. Every no to the trivial many is a powerful yes to the vital few. The journey to becoming a highly effective person isn't about a massive overnight transformation. It's about small, daily choices, compounded over time. It's about the discipline to choose the frog over the tadpole, again and again and again, until it becomes a habit. Until it becomes who you are. That was a deep dive into Eat That Frog, by Brian Tracy. We've explored the core principles today, but I'll be honest with you, a summary can only take you so far. The real magic happens when you hold the book in your hands and let the ideas sink in at your own pace. It's in the quiet moments, when a particular story or a simple phrase hits you in a way you didn't expect. This summary is designed to give you a map, to help you decide if this is a journey you want to take. If anything we've talked about today has sparked something in you, I truly encourage you to grab a copy. Reading it isn't just about learning, it's an experience that can genuinely change the way you approach every single day. The link to the book is in the description. Also, if you found this summary valuable and want to continue exploring the ideas in the world's most powerful books, please take a moment to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. That way, you won't miss our next journey into another life-changing book from the billionaire's bookshelf. Let's keep growing together.